We just got out of seeing Supergirl here at Cineplex in St. John's, Newfoundland. But the question is posed, is the Woman of Tomorrow good enough to dominate the box office this entire weekend?
But before we get into anything else, if you want to become a day one, real one, make sure to hit that like button, hit that share, subscribe, hit all the buttons down below.
We are the Distorted Theorists. And let's stay tuned for our Supergirl reaction and review right now. Peter. Last time we seen Millie Alcock coming in as Supergirl was, of course, at the end of Superman by James Gunn, DC rebooting the universe, as we call it in the studio. What were we expecting? What did we get here in our non-spoiler review?
I was pleasantly surprised. Again, when it came to Supergirl, I know nothing. It's this, I always revert back
now
to this.
You do.
Well,
now
yeah,
you know
I always revert back to what, because it always comes back to Marvel. But like, I didn't know anything about Guardians of the Galaxy, pleasantly surprised. Didn't know anything about Doctor Strange, pleasantly surprised. So when it came to Superman, I was like, I know Superman.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Superman. But I didn't know anything about Supergirl other than her role that was, I briefly played in the second Justice game. And I still don't know a whole lot about Kara.
And like I said, my only experience really and truly was with, and I hope I say this right, Melissa Benoit, I think it is, from the Arrowverse, as they call it, on CW,
right, yeah.
which I love, by the way. I mean, surprised they didn't use her for this. But Millie Alcock was introduced, as we said in the last Superman. She had big boots to fill, no pun intended, coming into the new rebooted DC universe. What do you think we got this film before some of the more titular heroes, if you will?
Because obviously she's going to have a role to play coming up. It's the same thing. Like, James Gunn isn't stupid. He's going to try and follow a similar formula as to what Marvel did for the MCU. I'm not saying that this is going to be Marvel. DC is going to be doing its own thing with James Gunn, with Peter Safran or whatever the whole head of everything is. They're going to be doing their own thing. But there's a reason that there was a Supergirl movie directly after Superman. Is Supergirl going to play a part in Man of Tomorrow? Is it what's the next one?
Really,
Superman 2, whatever it's going to be?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know what that's going to play, but they're obviously setting up. We've got our Kryptonians now, and we're seeing Kryptonite here and there and everything. Well, but I gotta say, this was a nice kind of, I don't want to say it was a polar opposite, but it was a very different film than what we would have seen with Superman. Superman was all about being the hero, learning to accept who you are in terms of where you've come from and trying to find your identity. Whereas Supergirl's kind of the way that she's doing it, well, she's trying to forget who she is or was. She's trying to go in a different direction. And through the events of the film, things happen, and then she becomes Supergirl again. And again, there is that kind of, not even a parallel, but like you look at Superman. Superman's all for good, and I'm working with the Justice Gang, and stop that, knave, you shall not do this. And like it was very like, when David Cornsett would fight in the other one, it was more just grab someone and kind of drag them to the ground. Yeah, Millie Alcock, she does not do that. It is dark, it is gritty, it is
very IDGAF attitude.
Yeah, and it's cool because you kind of get to see that bright burn aspect instead of everything is good and I don't want to hurt anyone. Where Kara just pretty much she doesn't rip anyone in half or anything like that, but she does kind of dominate the screen with what she does. You feel those punches, you feel the hits, you can feel the laser eyes.
I almost feel like Millie Alcock's portrayal of Supergirl, in this film, it starts off almost like a slow burn that you're like, I don't know if I'm digging this or whatever, but she literally grows on you. I feel by the end of the film, when she's doing her big cinematic moment, we'll call it that, I feel like you're like, okay, she baddie. But she's baddie in the suit. You know what I'm saying?
And that works. And it really and truly works because it's like the story, again, if it follows I think it's the Woman of Tomorrow storyline, which I obviously haven't read. So I don't know how faithful it is to that storyline. But we don't just have Supergirl in this. We have Ruthie whatever her name is, who is played by Eve Ridley.
Yeah.
We've got Krem of the Brigands, who's played by Matthias Strong, I can't say his last name. And we have Jason Momoa playing Lobo.
Well, okay, I'm going to flip the script a little bit in our review here because, you know, as positive as we will say the titular character of Supergirl is, there was some things that I didn't really like. Maybe you could shed your opinion. First of all, we see from the trailers, obviously, Crypto gets infected, and that is the catalyst that sets off the events of this very war-torn movie. I don't know if that's what I wanted to see as a catalyst to get her to get up out of her chair and be like, I really should do something with my life.
I see why it is, because I'm not going to spoil anything, but there are some story beats that happen in the movie that reveal as to why Crypto is so important to her.
Well,
and that
true,
makes sense.
but I guess
as a dog owner myself, I would go.
Yeah, but I just think that aside from Clark, the only thing that could affect her personally is that dog. But I still don't know if that was enough to just like get me to care, if that makes sense. I also didn't like that. It seemed like a lot of the movie was super like almost Zack Snyder dark. And I don't know, I feel like with all the promo images and everything, with those big splashes of blue and red and yellow, you know, like you expect from Superman, the movie just felt a little dingy. Like,
yes, that's what makes it
good. But like again, you alluded to Guardians, right? Guardians had, I felt like they had pops of color everywhere.
Yes, and then
a lot of it, you know, Power Stone, purple, blah.
But then you went to Nowhere.
Yes, I know, but this was like all in that prison. I felt like it was just anyway. So I didn't really like that. I felt like Jason Momoa's character, we were all excited for Lobo, didn't also grab me because his portrayal of it was very Jason Momoa-y. I don't, but like, what do you like? How come? Like, how
Jason
can
Momoa plays as Jason
How can
Momoa.
you put into words? Help me a little bit, if you can, for our viewers. What is that? What we were expecting?
I think so. This movie was, if I remember correctly, originally supposed to be closer to 2 hours, if not longer. This movie is 1 hour and 48 minutes. Apparently, it didn't do too hot. I think, again, come from me in the comments, but I don't think it did too hot with test screenings. So I think there was a lot of footage that was cut, and I have a feeling that the footage was cut was probably related to Lobo.
You think?
Again, this is a movie with not a ton of moving parts, but there's moving parts in this, and I do feel that it was constructed in a way that certain aspects felt left behind.
Yeah, I like the way, I won't say specifically, but there's an object, multiple objects that are taken and then retrieved, and then taken again, and retrieved again, and taken again, and retrieved again. That was the part that I was like, is this all you have to offer, James, in this film?
But it's not James Gunn.
I know, but like, you know, whoever's behind the wheel then, is this all you had to offer to get us from point A to B to C to D? Like, could you not insert? And again, I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, but as a review, we have to tackle the good and the bad. It's just like, why was this the same trope? I think you know what I'm referring to, used over and over and over again to just progress that story. Why wasn't there another beat or two added in with the power of DC?
Because again, we're starting off new. This is still a new universe. We don't have Clayface yet. We don't have a Batman. We don't have a Green. Well, we do have a Green Lantern.
Yeah, I love how you said
and we've got lanterns coming. We've got Clayface. There is going to be. They've talked about there is going to be a Batman coming. We just don't know who or when it's going to be. So we're still starting off at the very beginning. Superman has made his identity in his movie and on Earth, and now we've got the cosmic, if you will, the Captain Marvel aspect beyond our own solar system.
With that as well, Supergirl, when the powers come into play, obviously you said
it works.
It works. That again, I'll flip the script back to the good part of this thing. Is I wasn't mad about Millie Alcock being Supergirl. Like, I think some people were a bit wishy-washy. I think the reviews online are a bit wishy-washy. But I do believe she can embody the character when she gets her wings. Like, okay, the yellow sun's on you, go do your thing. Those were intense moments. You were feeling that boom, like with every laser beam. I'm sorry if I just nuked someone's ears with that. But like just seeing her presence and seeing what she can do in the field of battle, like I want to see more. You know, it left me wanting more. I want to see her team up with more heroes in the future. I don't know how they're going to juggle if and when she teams with Superman. I mean, you got two big guns, no pun intended, going there. Like, how are they going to separate? Because it's kind of like the the Captain Marvel situation, right? Very OP. So now you have two OP characters theoretically in this universe. How does one progress the story from this movie now? How do you see it going when it comes to
I see
balancing the,
Kara coming into her own as being good and doing what she can, but she still has that dog in her, so she's going to be trying to do as the best as she can, whereas Superman and Clark are just saving the little squirrel before he gets squashed by the giant monster, but the collateral damage that's going to come from Kara is probably going to be a little bit more than what Superman does.
Yeah.
But I still want to talk about like how the movie felt.
Sure.
It was enjoyable. The soundtrack was great.
That was true.
The visual effects, like again, it's not Avatar. I know, I'm not saying Avatar is a gold standard, and I know it's not the Pirates of the Caribbean. I know that some of the visual effects of CGI that we're seeing in recent years...
But they weren't sloppy. Like,
no, I don't think so.
There was no point where something happened, I was like, oh. Like, because there are movies we've seen recently in our reviews where like, this part happened, it was like, yeah, CGI, this, that. I wouldn't really...
And it's easy to tell what is CGI and what isn't, but it's still enjoyable. I enjoyed myself throughout the movie. I thought it was good. Again, I come back to Millie's portrayal of Kara, and I thought she did well. Ruthie's portrayal was okay.
A little annoying at times, but
again, that's what she's supposed to be. She's kind of like the sidekick. She's representing something. She is not powered, so she's going to be the little mosquito.
That's a perfect analogy. Ears. I was very much like, okay, you can get off my screen now. But more of this.
I gotta say that Krem, the villain who we see in the trailers, who like does the thing to Crypto.
Yeah,
he was a psycho.
Yeah, but and he's not, obviously for us, he's not a big known enemy.
Nope, and I didn't need him to be.
But he had that unhinged part, which was enough to be like, he could really do anything here.
He had the Far Cry 3 Voss.
Yeah. But do you think that was a good foe for Kara's first film? Like, is that what we want to see? Just a psychological...
Simple. I don't, because again, Superman is important. You need to have an important film for Superman. Spider-Man is his own, he's huge. Batman needs to have a proper introduction when he comes in. Supergirl, it was a story that was adapted from the comics. It did it well. I wasn't expecting to be like, oh, I'm going to find the next Thanos and beat them into the ground. Like, no. Supergirl is... She's not Wonder Woman. She's not Batman. She's not Superman. Right. She's a tier or two beneath, I think.
Yeah.
I think this is good.
Yeah. Well, you think it's good. As always, at the end of our reviews, we always like to ask each other, Peter, out of 10, what are you giving this film, Supergirl?
I'd give this a solid 7. Really
7 out of 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, like, it's like I would have liked to have been a little bit longer, a little bit more development to see in terms of some of the background for some of the characters. I didn't need to see more of the villain. I would have loved to have just seen more of Supergirl be Supergirl. Yeah, I would have gave it a 6.57 as well, just because I would have liked to see... even though we were seeing very much cosmos and worlds, I want to see more almost of her world, if that makes sense. Like, just no, you know what I mean. I just wanted to see more splashes of personality. I get where they were coming from. Millie Alcock's character was very much portrayed as someone down on their luck, if you want to call it that. But I would have liked to see a bit more of Happy pop through and then recede. Through and recede until, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a planned sequel for Supergirl. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that now, because then she gets to be fun. She gets to be Supergirl then, instead of being like, I'm going to be Supergirl now. Like, she actually will be established as Supergirl the next time we see her.
Totally agree. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for our review. I don't know, it was a stomp. Our review and reaction of Supergirl, fresh at the theater here at St. John's, Newfoundland, Cineplex. As always, if you want to support our channel and you want to become a day one, real one, make sure you hit our subscribe button, hit our like button, and leave us a comment down below. Did you get to see Supergirl on day one or night one? Are you excited where the DC studios are going from here? And what was your overall thoughts in the comments, spoiler free, about what you thought of the movie? And with that, I am the Rio Jossi.
I'm Peter Parkour, and like we always say around here,
keep it real.